DVD. That's right.
We're watching a DVD, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, what a super kick that was.
Knocked his head off from here to Japan. All the way.
And now Balls is getting rid of that setup of the chairs for whatever reason. And now Balls Mahoney said something about him dying, I think, or you want to see him knock him down. I couldn't really hear what he said, to be honest.
It's hard to hear it. Someone's at ringside. Who is that?
A girl is at ringside and just distracted Pat Savino by putting Pat's,
face into her bosoms.
Uh-oh. Oh, my God! Wow! Lights out, lights on, lights out.
Absolutely.
And Balls Mahoney
I guess that
answer a win there against No Life Louis Ramos.
He started the fire, and it went right in Louis' face, and he got the victory.
Fireball victory from Balls Mahoney on Low Life Louis Ramos. I see Anthony DiBlasi on the outside there. Do you see him?
Absolutely.
This guy, Anthony DiBlasi, for those that don't know and did not get Bomber by Nature, and you should buy it right now, rfvideo.com. But for those that don't know, on this last DVD, DiBlasi was the man who sent Abdul the Butcher after him. Then after the attack of Abdul the Butcher, Mana came after him as well. So,
that's
right.
Right.
Now DiBlasi's got a lot of beef there with Low Life, but he's stalking Low Life Louis Ramos. He's checking it. That's what I was going to say. Low Life was trying to attack DiBlasi, but he got attacked, I think, by Ken Sweeney on the outside there.
Are you kidding me?
Hang on a here.
To stop your undefeated streak a year ago. And I've been sending all these people out here to try to get this fire back in you. I should not be standing in front of you right now and cursing you out. You're doing nothing right now. I saved your money.
Well, and Low Life Louis Ramos up, and Ken Sweeney drops it, but DiBlasi did get knocked out as well.
Ken Sweeney, the
What a matchup it was. Great matchup all the way through. Balls Mahoney, Low Life Louis Ramos. DiBlasi getting attacked on the outside. We got more action coming up.
I had one of my kids come out here and proclaim himself the hardcore champion. And what did you do? You sat in the back and look at baby pictures. While a man Stadium came out here and won that title, you did nothing.
It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Hey, Gifa, don't mind me. I'm just playing with my salami. What's going on, everyone? Super Bowl Sunday. Sorry, I'm just not into football like I used to be. Even though we predicted that the Eagles would win by a blowout, they have been on freaking fire the last month and a half, I would say. 50 points. I don't think it's out of the question. Possibly. You would think maybe upper 30s might be more realistic, but I think they could go as high. Listen, I still remember I don't know if it was 1990 when it was the 49ers. I think they beat the Broncos. I was in California at the time, and that was the year that they blew out the Super Bowl. I think they won like 55 to something. But anyway, listen, I don't like either team, but I have so many people I'm friendly with that live in the Philly area. I want to see Philadelphia get a Super Bowl. Don't mind it. Don't mind it for this year. But hope everyone is doing good. It's Sunday. What's today's date? The 9th of February? Ah, shit. 5 days from now, Valentine's Day. Oh, man. What happened to the days of a $20 box of chocolates and a little stuffed animal, and that was enough? Now, last year it was a dog, and it was 2 dogs. You know, a little cool feature that is going to be coming on the show. I know it's not that big of a deal to you, but for me, it's pretty cool because, you know, this year, Kev and I are slowly, barring Kevin's health, obviously, which we'll talk about in a moment, but, and barring my health too, but we want to grow much bigger in 2025, but we got to take it slow. We don't want to go balls out and then burn out. You know, that's a definite no-no. But one thing that I always wanted on this show is sometimes I put pictures on the screen. Someone will ask me about something in the backdrop. And, you know, when you point to something, you know, it's very hard to pinpoint it. So if you ever watch Raw, what they do with Pat McAfee, he has the telestrator. Believe it or not, now I have a telestrator that we could use on the show. So if I want to go like, hey, look, there's Deli Man. Look, 1, 2, 3, and then just, yeah. So we could play around with that. So when we show a video or something and I say, pay attention to something, I could say, hey, pay very close attention to that. Or, you know, we could delete that and, you know, just do whatever we want to do. So, yeah, there's more to that. But I just wanted to let everybody know, nice, cool thing that we're going to be getting soon. So, wow, almost 400 of you here. I guess either people are just not into football like they used to be, or maybe they're just browsing the game and listening to this in the background. Obviously, we're not going to talk about football for the most part. We'll give some score updates as we go along. But this show is primarily wrestling. Sometimes we talk a little topics outside of wrestling, but 99% of it is wrestling. And Sunday night, we call it the lazy show. I come here with nothing, and everybody who joins me live are the ones that dictate what we talk about tonight. You want to talk a lot about AEW? We do it. You want to talk a lot WWE? We do it. You want to talk the releases? We'll do it. You know, it's all you have to do is just show up. If you want to be part of the conversation, just hang out in the chat. It's free. You're not required, obviously, to super chat. But since we don't have sponsors, you know, it does help us pay the bills and grow. So you'll always get to the front of the line. And want to shout out everybody who's here tonight. I hope everyone is having a good week so far. And listen, if you're enjoying the Super Bowl, cool. No issues whatsoever. I want to thank each and every one of you. Before we get into questions, I want to thank each and every one of you out there for the kind words and prayers for Kev Castle. For those that don't know, you know, Wednesday, Kev had a very serious health scare. He's been having some issues with his heart going back to last year. Some of you may remember a little issue last year. His blood pressure was, I don't want to get specific because it's his stuff to talk about, but it was at a level that if you Google it, you know, the chances of survival are very, very slim to none. And he had to get rushed to the hospital and was there for pretty much a day. And he has to undergo a lot of battery of tests this week for his heart. They already put him on some type of medication, but basically what it is just, you know, lack of sleep, you know, maybe hereditary a little bit and just working too much. And, you know, he let me tell you something. I don't want to bring the show down tonight, but I brought this up on Patreon and I brought it up a little bit yesterday. You know, the way he was writing to me, the guy truly thought he was going to die. he was thanking me for all the years that we did this stuff. And I'm like, Kev, relax. You're going to be okay. He's like, no, you don't understand. Then he started telling me, and I was like, oh, shit. I didn't realize it was that freaking bad. I gave my cell phone number to strangers in case something happened to him, and a couple of things that I would have, not have to do, but I would have, to do to help him if he did pass away. That's how crazy it was. And Kev is not one of these neurotics, that you have a little cough. Oh my God, I got COVID. He is one, he comes from old school. And, Kev and I are Italian. He's part Irish, I believe, also. But, our family comes from the old school, that if you get a little bit of pain, you suck it up. You rub a little dirt on it. Sometimes if something seems a little off, you suck it up. You don't show weakness. Unfortunately, what's going on inside tells a different story. And, I'm going to say it. I don't really care who I piss off. At this stage of the game, do I really care who I piss off in the media world out there? Forget me for a second, but I have to say this. Kev is one of the nicest people you will ever come across in the wrestling podcast media world, whatever you want to call it. He has made so many friends in wrestling and very, very close relationships. And he's genuinely a good person that doesn't look for confrontation. And, I get it. Sometimes on Twitter, you'll see some of your friends, listen, can you say a prayer for me? I'm having a rough day. It's a bad mental health day. And I'm not saying that mental health is not serious, but, you see people out there, hey, a little shout out, a little love. I would really appreciate, I'm not having, today was not a good day. Go and look at the post that I put on Twitter. It's got about 400 likes and a ton of responses. Outside of Joe Cronin, I can't find one fucking podcaster or one person in the media world that just offered thoughts and prayers to somebody who thought he was going to drop dead. And I'm like, that's pretty fucking selfish. Because when they have a bad day, they want everybody to reach out. And listen, me, I'm not on Twitter all that much. So I get it if people don't pay no mind to me. But Kev is on Twitter fucking all the time and always mingling and socializing and having fun. And the closest of the closest just no-sold him. I'm like, this isn't a bad mental health day. The fucking guy's blood pressure, was over 200. And I'm a little bit miffed by that. So I just wanted to say it publicly in case anybody out there sees that. And don't give me this, I had no idea that you wrote it. Okay, you didn't have any idea that I wrote it because I don't write that much. But what about the hundreds of people who reposted it and responded to it and commented on it and were hashtagging Kev's name in response? You didn't see all those either? Don't give me that shit. I'm in my 50s. I know how the internet and social media works, unfortunately. So, sorry. I just had to say that because even though we had a blowout for a few years, guy is my friend. Guy's been my friend for well over 20 years, and he's generally a good guy. So, all right. WWE releases. That is the hot topic of conversation. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow on the show. We'll definitely comment about it again. I will tell you, if you saw my thumbnail yesterday on the news update, because we talked about a news update yesterday somewhat, I said yesterday that this is not a complete list, that more people are being released. They just haven't been made public yet. Now, as far as I know tonight, Electra Lopez is added to that list. Remember, guys, what Kevin and I said in December, 2025 is going to be the death of the factions. Factions are not going to completely go away, but the last 2 years that they have heavily depended on factions, it is nowhere going to be what it was before. I said the Judgment Day is going to disband a little bit. The Wyatt Six, I think, will disband somewhat. You look at the LWO. Zelina Vega was moved to the other brand. I have, and I want to say this. I want to make this clear. Some people I think misinterpret what Kevin and I say and do. We never report anybody's release unless it's confirmed. What we will do, because we are an opinion show, we will voice out who we are concerned for. We will voice out who we think is on the chopping block. And if somebody comes back to us and says, yeah, you're onto something. Remember in this year we were given a lot of criticism, and somebody within WWE DM'd Kev and I and said, you guys pay attention to the news in the next couple of days. Yeah, I didn't go on Twitter. Breaking news. You heard it here first. Exclusively reported by Don Tony and Kevin Castle show. In this year are gone. No, we wait until it's officially confirmed. Then we say it. Because if it's not officially confirmed and made public, Kevin and I are jumping the gun. We don't like doing that. But if we see people that we think something's just not cool in the gang, we're going to voice it. And if you look at this list, with the exception of Sonya Deville to an extent and Isla Dawn, is anybody on this list really surprising to you? Maybe Duke Hudson to an extent, but we knew what was going on with AOP and Paul Ellering. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. We just said 2 weeks ago when Carl Anderson had his surgery, we said, that surgery may or may not have prevented his release because WWE doesn't normally release people when they have surgery. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. They were on the chopping block. Blair Davenport, I don't care how nice of Bea Priestley is outside of the world of pro wrestling. Sometimes WWE does not know what to do with talent. There's been many people over the years who are not treated or used the right way. It's not always the wrestler's fault. I don't put any blame on Blair Davenport, but Blair Davenport, unfortunately, doesn't have much of a personality. Being a nasty bitch with half white hair and half black hair is not enough for the WWE roster. You have to have a little bit more. They tried to align her with Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, if people remember, and it didn't work out. Suddenly, remember when we joked and we said, wait a minute, Blair Davenport is SmackDown, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire are Raw. Why are they putting them together when they're not on the same brand? This was like 4 or 5 months ago. Everybody on this list, Cedric Alexander, we talked about that a month ago. Why is this guy stuck in NXT? He is a much better talent. If you can't figure out how to use him on the main roster, that's a very expensive NXT talent to have. He got cut. Giovanni Vinci. When you saw that they brought back the fucking car, all right, the guy is tremendous in the ring. Fabian Aichner is tremendous in the ring. He's got an incredible physique. He's got a good look. But this is like, remember when I said he's like you bought Cesaro on Wish? With all due respect, it's not clicking. His character is not clicking. Being a rich European, after being an Imperium for quite some time, it doesn't jive with the fans. It never worked. So when you look at this list, the one person, Sonya Deville to an extent, but Sonya Deville has been in wrestling for 10 years. Sonya Deville, they put her as a GM for a little while. She obviously had the scary situation in Florida, but you don't keep somebody on the payroll simply because, you feel like you owe something to them. Unfortunately, the Pure Fusion Collective was not working out. It was not working out. And, they came up with that thing, shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. Soon as we saw it, we were laughing at it because it reminded us of Divine, just shoot your shot. I don't know if you could hear us. No. I have the other keypads on. Shoot your shot. It really wasn't working out, with all due respect. But for me, Isla Dawn. And listen, can I say one other thing about Sonya Deville? It's not about gay or straight. I saw some people trying to put that into play. That's ridiculous. I think the problem with Sonya Deville is that WWE is not interested in having her as a manager. And as far as a female talent, they have Raquel Rodriguez that looks a lot similar. And everybody has somewhat of a unique look. And I just feel Sonya Deville became somewhat expendable. Now, as far as Isla Dawn goes, Isla Dawn is the one that surprises me the most. And not because I have always praised the shit out of her. I think she's one of the most attractive women that WWE roster had. But she had that little connection with the fans of being that nasty bitch. That nasty bitch. The Unholy Union was over. Had a great entrance. Yeah, they gave them a decent amount of opportunity. They had the belts. They worked 2 pay-per-views overseas. Contrary to what AEW would tell you, indifference is the worst thing to have in wrestling. For TV shows, indifference reflects on the ratings. It reflects on merchandise sales. It reflects on pay-per-view buys. Indifference is the worst thing to have. If you get big-time heel heat, you're generating a reaction. Even if you have go-away heat. Let me tell you something. Back in the day, X-Pac had go-away heat. At one point, Eddie Guerrero had go-away heat. Jericho, at some point, when it wasn't clicking in the WWF, very short period of time, he had go-away heat. A lot of wrestlers have go-away heat. And you know what Kevin and I used to say back then, and we still say it now? Go-away heat is still 1,000 times better than no heat. You know why? Because if you're getting go-away heat, the fans are still investing a reaction in you. And that means you have some type of a connection. When the fans do not react, that's why, unfortunately, I use the term for Michin. I now call her Michin difference. Because you look at her entrance at the Royal Rumble, it was indifference. You look at some others, it's indifference. That means the fans are just not interested. I feel bad for some of these wrestlers because they work their ass off, but it's indifference is the worst thing they can have. And to prove my point, look at all of the people in the past that had go-away heat. I think they've kind of mapped out a pretty fucking good career out of it. They were always able to recover. Not everybody, because I think of some people I became friendly over the years. You look at like a Lars Sullivan. That was go-away heat. Velveteen Dream, I wouldn't even say it was go-away heat because it was so quick of how everything went down that I don't think it gave enough time for the fans to express. But getting a reaction is better than no reaction whatsoever. And I'm just very, very surprised for Alba Fire and Isla Dawn because now you look at Isla Dawn, where does she go next? I think TNA is a good possibility. I honestly don't think AEW is a wise choice because when you look at the upper echelon of talent there, you tell me how Isla Dawn is going to leapfrog. Forget the Mercedes Monets and others because they're obviously at the top of the list. But everybody who is a couple of notches down, how do you leapfrog that? Unless Tony Khan had an amazing fetish for Isla Dawn, you're not going to jump that list. So I think TNA is probably the best fit for Isla Dawn, or she goes back overseas for a little while. I'm just surprised. And Alba Fire, I don't know, man. I don't see this helping Alba Fire, no matter what WWE tries. If you look at Alba Fire and you look at Lara Vacaria, there's a totally different vibe. And not because one's a babyface and one's a heel, but Lara Vacaria, you could feel that the crowd is building behind her, getting into her, investing in her. Alba Fire, she is a great talent and she works excellent in the ring. I just very concerned. I don't think this helps her at all. Now, why is this frozen here? Hang on a second. I got to reload something here. By the way, as you notice, we fixed all the audio issues. Thank God. Last week with Kev, that was a nightmare. We had to reinstall everything, and we got everything to work. Thank God. Just give me 1 second. For everybody in the replay, forgive me. I just had to reload the chat because the chat froze a little bit. We got almost 500 people live right now. So, but, you know, and I said this yesterday in the news update. You know, I don't know if it's coincidence, but you remember about 6 months ago, Isla Dawn left Twitter. And she was very upset about something. And she stood on Instagram, but she cut off a majority of her social media. And I don't want to get into any controversies with that right now, but it's just interesting because if you look at the unholy union about 2-3 weeks prior to that incident, and then after, you see a significant cut in the matches. And I don't know. I don't know what went on over there. But listen, sometimes you want to see somebody succeed, but not everybody fits the perfect mold for the WWE. If anybody that's into baseball, what about a baseball player that has a tremendous career, goes to the Yankees and has all this pressure, and for some reason they just can't put it all together in the Yankees? Or maybe the Yankees don't know how to utilize the player. You know, sometimes WWE doesn't know how to utilize someone. And that could be the case for some people. But again, you look at this list, and listen, with all due respect, I saw immediately, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and others are, you know, trying to make a push for Tony Khan to sign Cedric Alexander. Why? Because they were a group, you know, for the last bunch of years. Of course they were great. The Hurt Business was fucking awesome. But why are we bringing him back on TV when fans did not give a shit, for the most part, what he was doing? Fans didn't even talk about him on social media. Wouldn't you rather have a Powerhouse Hobbs or a Ricochet or somebody else in the Hurt Business? Someone who they already invest in time? What makes you think that Cedric Alexander is suddenly going to get this amazing push on WWE television? I mean, on AEW television. Sure, he'll get a 15-minute match. He'll fight a Kyle Fletcher. He'll fight a Ricochet. He'll get some TV time. But 3 years later, you'll feel there's no growth whatsoever. Do you just want to see it because you just want to see it's almost like a video game. It's almost like a video game. When WCW versus NWO or WCW versus the world. And what would everyone say? Oh my God, I got to put Rey Mysterio versus The Undertaker. I got to put Sting versus The Undertaker. I got to put Eddie Guerrero versus somebody in the WWE. I mean, do people just want to see like their favorites in the WWE just redone in AEW? And you think it's going to be better? So I do not believe on just because somebody's let go that AEW should just sign them and recreate what was the past. I don't feel it. I don't feel it. So, but who sent the super chat earlier about the releases? So I hope you got your money's worth. Who sent this? Give me 1 second. I got to shout him out. This is One Fall, and with his weekly dig at Karrion Kross. It's amazing who people like Instigator Kross still can't wrestle a match and is overprotected by Triple H. Kross is used on the house show circuit quite a bit, and now they're bringing his character onto TV. The problem is that Sami Zayn was inundated in a different storyline and others, so not everybody could get a push right away, and somebody's value could be an investment for the future. Sometimes you buy something and you put it in a drawer and you say, all right, I'll take it out in a couple of months, or I'll take it out a year from now. All right. In the meantime, I'll use it different ways. You're not going to get me to shit on somebody who's a friend of ours. All right. I don't know your personal, you know, I don't want to use the word obsession, but your personal angst with the guy. You look at that entire roster, there is people getting paid a hell of a lot more, doing a hell of a lot less. You know, this is somebody who is very reliable, who is there when needed, working the house shows, and now they're trying to incorporate his character as a singles guy. Remember what Kev said? They have never used Cross as a babyface. He's got a book coming out later this year. He is one of the most friendliest persons on social media that will try to interact with everyone. That's someone who you want in your company. Sometimes it doesn't equate to a lot of matches on television, but sometimes their worth is utilized in other places. So that's my honest take on that. Puffy89, am I surprised there was no halftime heat this year? He would think TKO would want to take advantage of something like the Super Bowl. I'm not surprised. I think the problem is with halftime heat, we only had it 3 times in its history. In 1999, we had The Rock versus Mick Foley, Mankind, in the match, the empty arena, which we just celebrated on the History Show. In 2000, I believe it was the interview with Steve Austin, which wasn't a match, but it was an interview. And in 2019, we had Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and Adam Cole versus Aleister Black, Ricochet, and Velveteen Dream. If you look back at those Super Bowls, you had, I think it was the Steelers versus the Cardinals one year. And I think the other year was the Broncos versus, I can't remember who it was. Those Super Bowls were not, the biggest, I must see it. I think Ben Roethlisberger, was that his name? Might have been the quarterback for the Steelers at that time. But, they chose some years that they thought wrestling fans would tune away from the halftime show. But the halftime show has gotten so big in football that I just feel that WWE just thinks you're not going to get a lot of people to turn away from the performances. Halftime is much bigger now than what it was, 20 years ago. 2019, was interesting. Didn't get a good rating. I don't remember what the rating was, but it did not get a good rating. The NXT stars. But no, I'm not surprised that they didn't do it. Not surprised. Thank you for that, Puffy. Police Squad. What's up, Police Squad? Thank you for the 10 spot. Who is my Mount Rushmore of wrestling? For him, it's Hogan, Austin, Rock, and Shawn Michaels. Me, when I do Mount Rushmore, I do it by promotion. Because I've been watching wrestling for so damn long, there's too many people that I would kind of like fight back and forth. I have my ECW one. Obviously, if I was forced to do one Mount Rushmore, nobody from ECW would be on it. Maybe Terry Funk. Probably put Terry Funk on there. But, for WWF, even though I despise Hogan, growing up, Hogan was very, very huge, in the 80s. Growing up at that time, I probably would put Hogan, Terry Funk. If I'm forced to do one list, Hogan, Terry Funk. I don't know. I don't think maybe Steve Austin. I don't think I would put The Rock. Maybe I would put The Rock before John Cena, because John Cena's not on my Mount Rushmore. If I have to choose one for the last 20 years, then I would be forced to put Cena on it. Methinks says his Mount Rushmore is Austin, Rock, Savage, and Booker T. That is cool, man. That is cool. See, that's why I like to do a WCW one. Because WCW, I could be, okay, Flair, Sting, and whoever else I want to put on that list. ECW, I could say, okay, this, and this. It's very difficult, to come up with a list and stick to it. I think even Tony Khan did an interview the other day, and he changed his Mount Rushmore from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Sting wasn't on it. Now Sting is, because of his love for Sting. I think he took Ricky Steamboat off of his Mount Rushmore, and everybody has their right to do that. And there's really no wrong list. It's who, influenced people to become a fan of wrestling and who influenced them the most over the years. And listen, I absolutely am very, very disappointed in Hulk Hogan for the last 15 years. very disappointed. To me, shortly after Hogan Rock WrestleMania, maybe a little bit with the Mr. America stuff, but shortly thereafter, to me, it just changed. Once they did Hogan Knows Best and his son had that car accident, ever since then, you started to see, something about Hulk Hogan that was just, it was wrong. And I could even let the steroids go. He had to take them because of the physique and the larger than life and the superhero that he portrayed. I get it. But all the other shit, and it disappoints me to see so many people in the wrestling bubble that either are lying to you and they know why Hogan is getting heat right now, but they just, for their friend there, they just don't want to say it, or they're just extremely ignorant. It's amazing to see the people in the wrestling bubble that can't see what we all see. And trust me, the more we get past California, the more you'll realize that this is a much bigger problem than people realized. And also why WWE is really going to be careful how they put Hogan on TV in the future. They're going to be extremely careful. And if you think that CM Punk name dropping Hogan wasn't deliberate to test the reaction, notice how his name wasn't brought up by Punk for a year before it and the year after it. Well, months after it. You don't just randomly pick someone. And everybody knows Hulk Hogan can't wrestle anymore. So why would you even mention throwing somebody over the top rope that is not even teasing a return? So, DeMarcus, his Mount Rushmore is Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker. Yeah, The Undertaker, I think I could see why. I mean, that's why it's so hard for me to come up with a Mount Rushmore. Because Undertaker, when you look back on it, it's like, okay, I actually could find a place for Undertaker. There's no bad answer. There really isn't. So, Umar, Hake, and listen, as we get years from now, as we go further, you're going to see a lot of younger fans, and their Mount Rushmore is going to be John Cena, Randy Orton, and pick two other people from this generation, last 20 years. That in the future, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see Randy Orton, John Cena, Bryan Danielson, and maybe CM Punk. You'll see some people do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different generation. I'm not watching the Super Bowl. I'm talking to you guys right now. But if anybody wants to provide a score update, I will share it as we go along. Umar. What's up, Umar? The internet wrestling community is getting all emotional over the releases of people that aren't making a splash in the WWE, and it's laughable. Only piping up when they're released. My thoughts. It always happens. I think it's just to get a reaction from people. What I usually do, if I really wanted to check somebody out, when I see somebody getting a little bit over emotional, what I will do is I will take, and I definitely suggest some of you, if you see somebody getting super over emotional over the release of Sonya Deville or the release of Blair Davenport, because Blair Davenport's getting a lot of that right now, go on that person's Twitter account and do an advanced Twitter search and check out their social media and check out their history of tweeting about Blair Davenport. And if you see, several posts, where is Blair Davenport? Why aren't they using her? Oh, she's one of my favorites. Oh, Blair Davenport's so, underappreciated. Why isn't she on TV? Then I could be like, okay, I get it. This is somebody I truly, support her. But when I see like Fade, with all due respect, that fucking, listen, he's a genius. He's getting thousands of dollars a month in ad revenue. But talk about one of the most fake people out there and getting all butthurt emotional about certain individuals. And you do a Twitter search of his account, and the only thing you find is him posting videos. these people don't care. There are people out there that are very, very into some of these wrestlers, but some of the names on that list, when you see somebody a little bit overreacting, just do a little search on their profile. When you see no posts, then you just ask yourself personally, like, you know, if you cared about this person so much, how come you didn't say a fucking thing about them when all this time? So there's a lot of fake on social media. There's a lot of fake. So we got to just deal with it. But sometimes you might post to somebody just to be nice. You know what I mean? Even with the Kev stuff, like I said earlier, just post, just be nice. You know, he's not well. Put a little smile on his face. Nice thing to do. You know, sometimes, oh, listen, I heard what happened. You know, my thoughts are in your prayer. Look at Samu. Samu is going through some serious health issues right now. And I know that his son just put up a GoFundMe, and we're probably going to send a little something his way. But, you know, on that page, we're going to send some kind words, you know, thoughts and prayers are with you. You know, hopefully you get through this. I haven't written a damn thing about Samu. Kevin and I have talked about, you know, the Samoan SWAT team, and we've talked about Samu in the past, but social media, why would I have written about him? You know, never. So that's a case where, you know, you just want to show a little something because you just want to give that person a little pick me up. But some of the people on social media, the way they're reacting, OMG, wow, I'm crushed. Crushed when your significant other breaks up with you. Crushed when you wake up and your pet passed away. Crushed when, you know what I mean? Like, that's what makes you crushed. Not a wrestler, you know, who unfortunately did not work out or overstayed their welcome in the WWE, and now it's time to move on. Simple as that. And again, listen, one thing I will never do on this show, and Kev would never do it as well, is we're not going to speculate names. If we think that somebody might be released because of our opinion, how we perceive them to be, that's one thing. But we're not going to sit here and say, don't be surprised if Elektra Lopez gets released. No. But if you check out last Sunday's show, Kevin and I said, you know, it's really interesting that they didn't use Elektra Lopez. It's interesting that they didn't use Blair Davenport. It's interesting that they didn't use Isla Dawn. Isla Dawn, we said, well, she's a tag team wrestler. Maybe they didn't want to put tag teams in the Royal Rumble. But, you know, Blair Davenport was healthy. Elektra Lopez has been on TV. You know, we found it interesting that they were not used. But Elektra Lopez, I think, will be fine. She is still very, very young. I personally think Elektra Lopez should go right to TNA. And I got news for you. I still think Indy Hartwell will end up in TNA. Because Indy Hartwell, through TNA, she might get her gig back in the WWE. Would not be surprised if Indy Hartwell gets her gig back in the WWE sometime in 2025. If she stays in the States and she starts working TNA a little bit, I think there's a very, very good chance, unless TNA signs her to like a 1-year deal, and then she stays in TNA until next year. I think Indy Hartwell will end up being back. We'll see. We shall see. We got a score update. 24-0. 24-0 Eagles. Yeah, I think upper 30s, like I said earlier, is more realistic for the Eagles. But, you know, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. The Eagles are on fire in those playoffs, man. I don't follow football as much as I used to, but I did take notice. The Eagles seem fucking unstoppable. And all you need to do in the playoffs is get hot. And you could possibly, you know, bring that all the way to the Super Bowl. Now, it's still early. It's still early, guys. I have seen Super Bowls. I've seen games where the score might have been a little bit bigger than that, and they come back. But I think the Eagles should take it this year. Big G says he didn't even watch the halftime show. He misses the days that they had good artists performing at the Super Bowl. But you know what the problem is? You know, you burn through them. You know, like I remember when Prince was on, that was cool. You think I just saw the anniversary, Justin Timberlake, I think Janet Jackson, that disaster. But we've had so many artists already appear at the Super Bowl. Sure, you could bring somebody back. But now it's more about the contemporary stars. Like once in a while, you'll bring a nostalgic act back, but now it's more about today's stars. And there's so many people out there performing. And, I think the problem sometimes is when somebody depends so much on auto-tune and then you bring them to the Super Bowl, then you got a little bit of a situation there. So, but listen, it's becomes such a spectacle and the amount of money that's involved and the viewership is freaking insane. So, it just becomes bigger and bigger every year. Sometimes people watch not even for the game. They watch for the entertainment. They watch for the commercials. Isn't it interesting that you'll get on the average week a football game that'll get a couple of million viewers. And then suddenly this is like 100 million. Like where all these football fans come from. So you get that props to the NFL to be able to get that many people to watch a freaking football game. Tristan, what's up? What was my thoughts on WrestleMania 12 backlot brawl between Roddy Piper and Goldust and the infamous OJ Chase? I fucking loved it. Number one, I had the same Cadillac. A lot of you know that already. I had the same Cadillac. So I know how that car handles, and that one of my favorite cars I ever had in my life. To see them recreate the OJ Chase was hilarious. I mean, it shouldn't have been funny because, OJ murdered his ex-wife and Ron Goldman. Took me a long time to believe that. Here's a little tidbit. Some of you may not know this, but for a very long time, I thought OJ was framed because I thought California planted evidence. And then you heard, some of the officers and the way, they, used the N-word a little bit too much. And it just seemed like something could have been planted. But as I got older and learned about DNA and when there's 1 in a trillion chance that it's not you, then I'm like, okay, let's be honest. If I'm going to, and I've said this so many times, if I'm going to use a piece of clothing and I'm going to commit, the M word, you got to be careful sometimes on YouTube, the words we use. But if I'm going to take out somebody, and I don't mean to dinner, sometimes you want to throw people off course. If I'm a size 14 shoe, which I am, I'm going to try to see if I can fit in a size 11. And I'm going to make sure that I have my footprints as much as I possibly can. If there's a whole puddle of blood in front of the stoop, then, I might turn around and recreate the scene of, Singing in the Rain? And be like Kamala. Make sure my footprints are everywhere. And then when the forensic shows up, the guy had a size 11 shoe. Well, I'm a size 14. And then I have a glove that is probably probably bigger than Ludwig Kaiser's trunks, but like kid size. And I'm going to try to put it on any way I possibly can. Can I still hold the knife? I can kind of squeeze it. That's good enough for me. And you use the glove and you make sure you toss it. Why would you toss the glove on the premises? Unless you want someone to find it and it doesn't fit you. And you're standing there and you're like, if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. So to see Piper and Goldust recreate that scene, that was ballsy on the WWF's part because they separated the tragedy from the chase. But that was a memorable match. That was memorable. Yeah, I think there are people that still think OJ was innocent. I'm telling you, for me, probably at least 10 years, almost 10 years, I probably thought that there was a good possibility that he was framed. Then when you start revisiting some of the other evidence they found, I'm convinced he did it. Convinced he did it. Crazy. It's crazy. Big Mike, TV 100. What year was worse for WWE, 2011 or 2012? Boy, I don't remember exactly the rosters of both. I could tell you from doing the shows, 2012 was a much, I don't want to say much, but it was significantly less people tuning into the shows. It picked up again in, I think, 13 and 14. But for some reason, when we got into 2010, 2008, I think TNA still had something special going on. It wasn't, as unique, and, that New Car Center had rubbed off because they started in 2002. But 2008, there was still, a lot of buzz with TNA, and that helped a little bit. I think 12 kind of deteriorated more for the WWE, and then it started picking up again a year or two afterwards. Yeah, the Jimmy Snuka thing was crazy. Yes, absolutely. It's interesting to look back on that. And, when you watch like the empty arena and you look at some of the things that happened in Snuka's career, and it was right around that time. It was like maybe even a couple of weeks afterwards. People have asked me in the past, like, what do I think truly happened? And look, I've met Snuka many times. We used Snuka, Frank Goodman and I, for USA Pro Wrestling, that infamous match, Sabu and Snuka teaming up against Mexico's Most Wanted. Legendary match in Mexico that we actually pushed. Snuka was one of my favorites growing up. I mean, no question. But my honest opinion, and, you got to be careful how you say it, but my honest opinion is that you had groupies at the time, and you had women. I don't like using the term rats. It pisses off a lot of people, but you had a lot of groupies at the time. And sometimes you would have some wrestlers that nobody touches her. It's a one-on-one thing going on. And Nancy Argentina, there is no history, no claims that she went with other wrestlers. So Snuka met her, and he had a thing going with her. But from what I believe is that there was drugs involved. And not just that night, but before then, Snuka was a user. And, the word around the campfire is that she was a user too. They partied. They would go out with others. Everybody partied. Remember, think of the time frame here. We're thinking early 80s. That time frame when Nancy Reagan says, just say no. Everybody says, fuck you. Nancy Reagan with the anti-drug campaign. I think what happened was they got into an argument, and I think he assaulted her or pushed her, and she hit her head, and nobody did anything. I think, I think he was drugged up, and I think he probably just didn't think it was serious, and she freaking died from it. I personally think he could have literally pushed her. And let me tell you something, somebody that big, that's why the Bear Bronson story from yesterday really pissed me off, man. Really pissed me off. I think that guy's wrestling career is over. Because for the channel members on YouTube, they get the video versions of the shows I do. I posted a couple of pictures to show how big this guy is. And when you realize that he put his foot on his fiance's neck and put weight on it where she passed out for 10 minutes. You could wake up as a vegetable. You could literally wake up, hi, I'm a vegetable, and just with a clear head, just imagine. I don't even want to step on a fucking water bug outside my house. And this guy is standing over his fiance, not drunk, not under drugs, but with a clear fucking head. He steps on her neck so she's unconscious. I mean, that's sick. And especially that he's been going to anger management classes and still does this. So did I say, no, Bear Boulder. Did I say Bear Bronson? Bear Boulder. Bear Boulder. Yes. Bear Boulder. It's too many bears in AEW. Bear Boulder. So the snooker thing, do not underestimate. Nancy Argentina was a small woman. She was, 110 pounds? Snooker that big, fucking throwing somebody down, and she hits her head on something, the back of her head. And especially, I never read the toxicology report. I don't know if she was under the influence of anything, but I don't think he intentionally killed her. Shit, I used the word. I don't think he intentionally did. I think it was an accident. But no question that Vince McMahon helped it go away. Kevin Milwaukee, do I think WWE was in the wrong for allowing JD McDonough to continue the match after he clearly wicked his neck, the neck bump on the announcer's table? Yeah, I do. And I said, if you remember when I talked about it on the news update, I said, the minute they have replay and you have gorilla position, and the minute that spot happened and he's on the ground, the official should immediately come up to him and said, no, you're not finishing the rest of the match. He could have stood on the floor. Dominic could have finished the match, and that would have been the end of it. For JD McDonough, adrenaline kicked in. JD McDonough's like, no, fuck that. I'm okay. I could finish this match. No. And he fucking climbed his ass back in the ring. I think the officials should have physically held him back. I don't blame WWE to an extent because JD McDonough immediately, started trying to get back in the ring, but I think officials should have held him back. Should have just said, listen, no, you're not finishing this match. It's not a pay-per-view, you know what I mean? And it was not something where there would have been a title change. I could see if the stakes were a little bit higher and there was something bigger at the end of the line of that match that he's like, no, I got to finish. You think back with Steve Austin, with Owen Hart. And Steve Austin insisting that he does the roll-up, because we know what the end of the match was supposed to be. If the match would here's a good example. Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara. That was 100% AEW's fault because AEW put a dumb stipulation on Matt Hardy, who had just went to AEW. He's not even there for more than a cup of coffee, and they do a stipulation that he's gone if he loses to Sammy Guevara. So now you put yourself in a situation that, okay, if something fucking happens and this match needs to be stopped, how do we explain Matt Hardy still being there? Sammy's going to feel bad and say, no, that's not the way I'm going to. Sammy's Guevara was a chicken shit heel. Sammy Guevara, if he could have gotten the match stopped, if Matt Hardy loses, his character, not him, his character would have been like, yeah, get the fuck out. Sorry, pal. But because of that, I'm convinced to this day, because of that stipulation, AEW officials were like, what do we do now? What do we do now? And the doctor goes up to Matt Hardy. How many hands do I have up? 2? How many fingers do I have up? Well, you would be able to answer that, but no, how many hands do I have up? 3? And Doc Samson lets the match continue. And what happens? Because they couldn't have Matt Hardy lose. One of the dumbest stipulations I've ever come across in wrestling because of the accident. If they didn't have that stipulation, the match could have been stopped right there. Maybe even you tease a little that Sammy Guevara shows a little bit of concern, but then, doesn't. And Matt Hardy could have lost, and they could have had a rematch down the line. But no, they had to do that stipulation, so Matt Hardy had to win. All right. We have a super shout out from Sean H. Is that KB? That is KB, as in KB Toy Store. Thoughts on Rene Dupree. Thoughts on Rene Dupree's story about Juventud Guerrera getting hay in the locker room and getting on all four. Oh, okay. Getting hay. I don't know what that is. Well, anyway, Juventud Guerrera in the locker room getting on all fours saying, juice me or the Randy kiss me, please. I'll tell you a couple of things about Hoovy. Funny thing is, this might, do I have it here? I don't know if I have it here. Oh, yes, I do have it here. I just ironically have it out right now. Let me show everybody something. This is something that I've shown before. I just happen to still have it on my desk. Check this out. Daphne gave this to me. This is a WCW poster from, I think, 2000? When they were in Germany. Okay. This is it's pretty cool to see all the items that they were selling back then. But she gave me a ton of WCW stuff that never was, just from overseas. But Hoovy was a massive partier back then. And when I first became friends with Daphne, she told me a story about Hoovy getting so wasted that they had to put him in a shopping cart overseas. And Hoovy, he was just that's how wasted he got. Hoovy used to be a crazy, crazy partier. Funny thing is, in 2002, a lot of you know this story. When I started work at XPW, one of the things that I was in charge of was picking up the Mexicans from the airport and taking the Mexicans. That's what they would say. Can you pick up the Mexicans? Can you bring them to the arena? Yeah, no problem. I would take Halloween, Damien, Psychosis, Juventud Guerrera, Super Crazy, and we'd drive them to Philly. And Hoovy in 2002 was one of the quietest people that I ever met personally in XPW. Quiet, on his best behavior. But when he was doing the character, he was doing the Rock. If you smell what the juice is cooking, Hoovy juice. He was doing the Rock at that time, and the fucking crowd went nuts. Funny thing is, if you go watch, I think it's Hostile Takeover. You'll see me at the announcers table. Hoovy does his shtick. And this is 2002. And the crowds are going, what? Fuck you. What? Fuck your ass. Fuck. Everybody was doing the Steve Austin What stuff at the time. And Hoovy fucking killed it. He was hilarious doing that. But once he went to the back and in a hotel, quiet, nice, you would have thought it was a totally different person. On his best behavior. I still remember everybody was going to a diner to get food. And somebody knocked on his door and he opened up the door and they're like, hey, you want to come with us? We're going to go to the sports bar or something, get something to eat. No, I'm going to stay in the room. And just by himself. Now, I don't know what happened behind closed doors, but I think it got to a point where he got scared that he was going to lose his livelihood. Do I think he was on all fours saying to juice me? Yeah, I could see him doing that. I could see him doing that as a joke behind the scenes. His shit, 27-0 Eagles, by the way, everybody. I could see him doing that. But if you want to see, it's on YouTube. Just look up Juventud Guerrero Hoovy XPW. Just watch it. it's funny because it's uncensored. There's a censored version, but the censored version is not worth it. Maybe one day I'll play it if you guys want. But I do believe that he would do something like that behind the scenes. But I haven't heard too much bad about him. I've heard like contractual stuff with him. I've heard more about that thing. But as far as him still being a crazy party, I don't think he does that anymore. Okay. Jeff is asking, could I do another taste test on wrestling-themed food like the Goldberg cereal? Yeah, I can. I have Goldberg gum, WCW gum from 2000 here. I have this I can't open because they came out with 12 boxes of this. And I have the entire set, and the back is a puzzle. And you put all 12 boxes together, and it makes a very cool WCW puzzle. This is sour gum. They called it Sour Slam gum. I have this here. I'm almost tempted to open this up. This is sealed. This is sealed. Not today, but we'll do something. When I ate the WWF popcorn that time, that's the time that I got nervous. Because when I popped that popcorn in the room, it smelled like rotten plastic. And I ate enough of that popcorn that night. I had burns in my throat. Then I thought, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like the one chip challenge was different. But yeah, we could do something. I'll find something. I'm looking on my floor to see if I have anything. It's funny. Oh, God. I still have sealed Hulk Hogan's Thunder Mixer. It's still sealed in the packaging. I never opened it. I was going to always wanted to try this to make drinks. Hulk Hogan Thunder Mixers. I got some weird stuff in this room. My favorite thing, one day we're going to get this shit working. One day I got to open this. This is Steve Austin from 1997. It was interactive. Now think about this. This was the internet at the time. And the idea was you connect this to your computer and Steve Austin would talk. You had to, I don't know if you could see it. You go to like WWFwired.com and you plug it in and it would say a whole bunch of phrases. This is fucking awesome, man. I have this. See, look, works with Windows 95 or Windows 98. So I wonder what I could get for this on eBay. It's still pretty damn good condition. There's no price tag on it, but whoever got it at Target at the time. Actually, no, there is a price tag on it. $25 at the time. I don't know if you can see the price tag. $25. $25. I got other stuff. I'll figure out something. I'll look around. Hogan says a lot of things. Hogan is a fraud, man. Hogan is going to have to do an interview with Ariel Helwani or Chris Van Vliet. I would prefer Ariel Helwani, but if he does an interview with one of those two, that might be his only shot of possibly turning the corner with this. I don't care what legends step up and try to make him seem like an amazing person. He's got to do one of those two interviews. If he does Ariel Helwani will not let him get past that situation. Chris Van Vliet, I think, would lead him into repentance a little bit. And then, I don't know. I don't think Hogan cares. I really don't think he cares. He's got money now. He's got a wife. He's made some amends with his family. He's got his beer. He's still got his friends. Like, why does he need anything else? He doesn't need wrestling anymore. He just still needs to be Hulk Hogan. So trust me, when he dies, Hulk Hogan will be on his tombstone. I'm sure Terry Bollea will also be on there, but you best damn believe you probably see Hulk Hogan maybe in bigger words than anything else. I don't think anybody wants to see Hogan and Flair. It's been so many years with Hogan. Just leave it. You know what the funny thing is? If I said to you right now, what was Hulk Hogan's last match? What would you say? If I said right now, what was Hulk Hogan's last match? His last ever match. Could you think of it right away? So it makes you actually take a step back, like, okay, wait, TNA? Wait, Australia? You know, like you actually have to like take a moment and think about it. And that's the best thing for Hulk Hogan. That is the best thing for Hulk Hogan, that you truly don't remember exactly what it was. When it comes to Ric Flair, though, the last time we saw him in the ring, he looked like bum fights. Do you remember those videos, bum fights, where you would give bums money and they would just tear each other apart? That's what he looked like. His arms looked like they were on a scarecrow. I mean, I thought I had drooping blubber from my arms. You looked at him. That was hard to watch. You know, people beloved him. And thank God he got through it fine. But, you know, it was so uncomfortable to think, you know, what happens if this guy dies while I'm watching him fight? What if he catches a heart attack? You know, I don't want to see that. You know, why do I want my last memory of somebody who I enjoyed growing up is dying in front of me because he had a match that he shouldn't have because he's too old and he's in poor health? Yeah, lasagna arms. Oh, trust me, the elderly Italian women in my neighborhood, every time they come in, I always wish they come in only in the wintertime because they're wearing coats. They come in the summertime and they have like those half-cut shirts and they're just like that. And I'll purposely not flex. They'll just like be like this. It just like, it goes to the floor. Lasagna arms. All right. What quarter are we in with this football game? What's the score? What's the quarter? Oh, Linda has drifted away. Linda got her money. Linda's living her life. Linda is much older now. Linda, you know, late third quarter, 27-0. Wow. I thought it would be a blowout. We predicted that 2 weeks ago. I didn't think it would be that big of a blowout. By the way, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, check out this past Thursday's history show. We had a lot of fun reminiscing this week in wrestling history. It came up Thursday, and it's already 1 year from that infamous meme with Drew McIntyre. The troll of CM Punk began 1 year ago. That was a fun fun week to cover last week. You know, I pointed this out yesterday too. This is the thumbnail. Obviously, I have to add Elektra Lopez to it. There might be others as well. If you flash back, the last time that we had a bus flip like that was this one. We had releases in 2024, but the last time we had like a bulk of people released at the same time was late 2023. And we were talking about that list yesterday, and you look at that list, AJ Francis, I think he's killing it right now. Aaliyah is more concerned about, you know, what strength tanning solution she has, like what blocker she's got for his tanning salon. Emma and Madcap Moss had a kid, so they're working on their family. So they're kind of, you know, on a back burner right now. I think Mustafa Ali's done a tremendous job. I think he might be the most in demand on the indie circuit. Dolph Ziggler and Nick Nemeth has done an incredible job boosting his value. Shelton Benjamin has had arguably a Hall of Fame career, you know, and he doesn't need to put in the amount of hours like he used to. Elias to me has been a terrible disappointment. And Rick Boogs freaking retired. Rick Boogs is like, I ain't fucking working indies. I'd rather just retire instead. Rick Boogs. My favorite moment with Rick Boogs was when he used to introduce Shinsuke Nakamura. I couldn't do it last night because it was 2:00 in the morning when I recorded the news update. But right now it's only like 9:30, so I could go, Shinsuke Nakamura! I don't like, I wasn't, fuck Rick Boogs, man. He quit wrestling. Yeah, you quit wrestling. Fuck you. Brian Hunt. Thank you, Brian Hunt. For the 5 spot, my celebrity crush for every decade I've been alive. Well, let's put it this way. I was born in 1969. So from 1969 to 1979, I was only up to 10. So I really didn't have a celebrity crush at 10 years old. I would say in the 80s, all right, this is the best way I could put it. In the 80s, if we went back to the 70s, because I still watch 70s TV in the 80s, I think my 70s crush would have been Jacqueline Smith from Charlie's Angels. I thought she was incredibly attractive. Jacqueline Smith from Charlie's Angels. In the 80s, boy, this is wrong. This is wrong. But I'm only 2 years younger than her, I think. So it's a different story. In the 80s, probably the biggest celebrity crush I had was probably Tracy Lords. Because Tracy Lords was like, that's a name from the past. Tracy Lords, because that's when the controversy happened that she was underage. But we were underage too. So we were like, we could relate. As far as like Hollywood goes in the 80s, I didn't have any particular, I didn't have posters of women on my wall. I had a little bit of a crush on Miss Elizabeth. I always thought of Miss Elizabeth was just the ultimate, if you wanted the nicest, we didn't know Miss Elizabeth personally, but a lot of us had a crush on Miss Elizabeth growing up. In the 90s, I can't think of anybody in the 90s because it was mostly wrestling for me. Angela Lansbury. It's funny. I wonder how old she was in Murder, She Wrote. She was probably younger than Trish Stratus. Well, that might be pushing a little bit. How crazy is that? I know it's outdated reference, but it's still worth bringing up. Trish Stratus right now is older than what Edith Bunker was in All in the Family. That's mind-boggling. And I've brought this up too. If anybody remembers the TV show Welcome Back, Kotter. Remember the principal, Mr. Woodman, the guy with the gray hair? Or if you think of the movie Caddyshack with, who's the guy that had the TV show with the 2 daughters? Oh my God, Ted Knight. Kevin and I are older than Ted Knight at that time. When you watch the infamous clips of Johnny Carson interviewing Rodney Dangerfield, Kevin and I are older than Johnny Carson. How sick is that? That's pretty freaking crazy. The Golden Girls. I think the Golden Girls might have been younger than Trish Stratus's age right now. That's crazy. Salma Hayek, yeah. I could go with Salma Hayek, definitely. You know who I had a crush on for a short period of time when I was very young? Just something about her. Talia Shire. Talia Shire, Adrian and Rocky, but not because of Rocky, but because of The Godfather. When Talia Shire was in The Godfather, I had a little bit of a crush on her too. Just something about her. I just loved, there's a PSA on YouTube. When they came out in the early 80s on regular TV, I think it might have been NBC, they did a special. It was like 7 hours of The Godfather. 3 was not out yet. 3 came out years later, but they did 1 and 2, but they did it in chronological order. No one had ever seen that before. So they did it on regular TV in chronological order. And Talia Shire did a PSA before they aired it to let everybody know that this doesn't reflect the Italian Americans. Like, they were politically correct at the time too. And just something about her at that time. Yeah, you go to the Saved by the Bell. I mean, you had to be a little careful at that time, because now I'm in my 20s and you're watching Saved by the Bell and you're like, I got to kind of like do an Alta Vista or a Yahoo search to make sure that these girls are of age, So yeah, those are a few. Now for the last 12, 13 years, my crush is my wife. So Valentine's Day coming up. I'm not going to be in the doghouse. I never had a crush on Candice Michelle. The reason why, and this is nothing against her, when she came to the WWE in 2005, that's when I got the foot fetish videos. And I was like, you nasty little woman. I still have the videos when Candice Michelle was doing foot fetish videos. I was like, she ain't the most innocent person that she's portrayed to be. And we got pictures of her naked. This is before anything else. So Candice Michelle, I don't know. She didn't have attractive feet, in my honest opinion. She was doing these foot fetish videos and she was naked and she's talking about her ultimate date. Actually, you know what? Next week, I promise you, next week, I'm 90% sure I have one of the videos in my hard drive, my old hard drive that I have connected in the bedroom right now, because I was looking for old shows. I'm going to see if I could find it's not X-rated. I think there might be a little nudity. It's not X-rated or anything, but she might be topless and I might have to blur that out. But she talks about her ultimate date. And when you listen to it, you'll want to throw up. I mean, it's so like not Candice Michelle, but it's a funny, funny video, man. Funny video. Kevin Milwaukee says when he found out that she was from Milwaukee, they really dug her then. That's cool. Oh, Big G says 34-6. 34-6. Yeah, I think the Eagles got this. I mean, this ain't going to be like a Dan Marino New York Jets situation. I still remember those football games where the Jets were in the lead going into the fourth quarter, and then Dan Marino on the Dolphins is like, yeah, watch this, motherfucker. Boom, 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 game over. Dolphins win. Corona, I talked about Kevin earlier. He is home. He will be undergoing a battery of testing Tuesday and Wednesday to determine what the next step is for him. He's dealing with some pretty serious heart issues right now. And, I filled in for him on Thursday. My bet is he will not be on tomorrow night. I will be doing it solo. And I told him, I said, get taken care of. Rest. Stay away from stress, get your test done, let the doctors tell you what the next step is, and we go from here. That's why, like I was bringing it up, he was doing 5-hour shows on Patreon. And yeah, it's only one day a week, but I used to joke, I'm like, Kev, you should be sleeping right now, man. Fucking doctors told you, like, pull it back a little bit, because shows is not our full-time job. We got regular jobs. So it's above that. And, his problem is that, like, he'll go to sleep tomorrow at 11 o'clock at night. And then the next day he'll go to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. Then the day after he'll go to sleep at 8 o'clock in the morning. And the body, just is only so much. But I hope he pulls through this, because I'm telling you, if I ever read the private messages he sent me on Twitter last week, the guy thought he was going to die. For real. Not even being dramatic about it. He was thanking me for all the years He was sorry for some of the things, in his way back then. And I'm like, why are you talking like this? He's like, dude, you don't understand. He's like, and then he started telling me what was going on. And I'm like, holy shit. It's, it's pretty serious. I'm not even being dramatic about it. Guy literally was saying his goodbyes to not only me, he was saying goodbyes to other people online as well in DMs. The guy truly thought that he wasn't coming home. And he was crying because, who's going to take care of his cat? And, it's not just a physical thing. It fucks with your head too. I could only imagine what that, listen, I had a couple of health scares, but I never got to the point where I was like, damn, am I going to wake up tomorrow? That fucks you up, man. It really fucks you up. So, but he's doing everything the doctor tells him. So he goes for the test this week. They'll figure out what I told him today that I will tell you all right now. I told him, like, listen, Kev, at least it didn't lead to a stroke. At least it didn't lead to a heart attack. At least you didn't have to have any stents put in yet. And at least you didn't have to get a bypass surgery. You didn't get any of those 4. Now, obviously, once they do some of the tests this week, that could change. But the point is, as of now, he's on some very, very intense medication to force his blood pressure to stay at a somewhat normal level. And we'll see where it goes. But, I told him, I said, take as much time as you need. Because even Thursday, he was coming on for a little while. He's like, if I'm up, I'll stop by Patreon. I said, Kev, don't. He's like, no. He's like, I'll just say hi. And I'm like, all right. I said, let's see, but if you're in bed, stay in bed. I said, it's okay. And I told everyone, I'm like, look, Kevin might be stopping by. He didn't, thank God. But it was like, we always feel like we gotta come through. Once in a while, taking a week off, taking a show off is not gonna, if that makes anybody unsubscribe, what I mean, then, that's very disappointing. So, all right. We're going to start wrapping this up soon. We're going to start wrapping this up because tomorrow we got a loaded show. We might have more releases tomorrow. They haven't even really gotten into NXT as of yet. Funny thing is, without being dramatic here, the TNA partnership with WWE, NXT, probably saved a few people's jobs in NXT. For real. There's a few people that, and there's, let me just say this. You could fill in the blanks. There is one woman in NXT right now that if she gets released, a lot of people will go on social media and say, good riddance. There'll be a lot of people be like, good. Somebody who is injury prone. I actually think this person is a great heel. But there is somebody whose name has been buzzing a little bit that they think that she is on much more thin ice than people think. And I'll let you all figure out who that is. But listen, again, we're not going to sit here and say so-and-so is released when we don't know that they are. But if we hear that somebody is on thin ice, we will absolutely talk to you about that. We said that about Indus Shear. 2 days later, they were let go. We said that the last couple of weeks about AOP and Paul Ellering. Unfortunately, they were let go. Remember Tegan Knox? We said, Tegan Knox, bye-bye. She just feels all the signs are pointing that she was going to be let go. And she was. We're not saying anybody's being released, but if somebody is just not clicking, whether it's their fault or WWE Creative's fault, still means they're not clicking. Again, Blair Davenport, feel bad. Definitely that's somebody who should have been able to do a little bit better in WWE. I don't think it was her fault. I think it was WWE Creative. They couldn't create a character for her. Being a nasty import, it's not enough. Having a little bit of an exotic look to her, not enough. She'll probably end up in TNA. I hope she doesn't go to AEW because unless she just wants to get paid and be in mediocrity the next 2-3 years, then go for it. But if you have a little bit of a fire under your ass and you want to, add value to yourself, where a couple of years from now or even a year from now, you'd be like, all right, you see, this is the mistake you made and you bring it back, that's fine. So we'll definitely, if any more releases happen tomorrow, we'll definitely talk about them. All right. I see a lot of love for Kevin in the chat. We'll see what happens. He's got to deal with it. If you don't deal with it, then, you just play Russian roulette every single day. So that's why I say to anybody out there, if something feels off, go get it checked out, because you never know. You never know. Maggie says Triple H is the least creative man on the planet. When he does create, it's usually nonsensical. Well, I think they've done a pretty damn good job the last 2 years. Yes, they have treaded water more than people realize. You look at the women's tag team division, it's very disappointing. And that might even be mild. Look at the men's tag team division. They have damaged a lot of tag teams. DIY, all right, they're okay, but, it's not like WWE Universe is really clamoring about seeing them get their ass kicked. They're not as over as perceived. Then you look at Pretty Deadly, and it's like, okay, to get an upset win. So you're trying to force the push. But the Street Profits just did what they did. How's about focusing only on the Street Profits right now? Why throw Pretty Deadly in this mix? Focus only on the Street Profits. Get their fucking stock back to the top. All right. Then if you want to have a little fun with Pretty Deadly, that's fine. And I'm big fans of Pretty Deadly, but it feels like you're trying to level the playing field for multiple tag teams at the same time. Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, they've been in the mix with this. And then you got the Motor City Machine Guns, which I knew was not going to be as over as how people were portraying it. Yeah, they're Hall of Famers. Yeah, they've had amazing careers. But at that age, look at the WWE Universe. I don't see the kids all clamoring over 2 40-something-year-old guys, that have no look other than like a car noise engine and doing their intro. Like, when everybody does flippy, what they do is not so crazy out of the ordinary. Penta is amazingly over because Penta's got a gimmick. He's masked. He's got mystique about him. He's got charisma. Unfortunately, Motor City Machine Guns don't have charisma like people thought or people insisted that they do. Triple H has relied on the Bloodline, the Judgment Day, Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk. When you have all those bullets, yeah, you can kind of like use everybody else's filler. Problem is, Roman Reigns is not working the schedule that you thought. John Cena is not even really working the schedule as people perceived it to be. Brock Lesnar hasn't been brought back yet. Randy Orton, they have kind of pulled back on, to prolong his career a little bit more. People are starting to get tired of Damian Priest. Gunther is kind of stuck in the mud. And I just realized somebody sent this earlier, and I remember we didn't talk about this. So I'm going to bring it up now. My apologies to Peter. Peter with a 10 spot. Do I think there's any chance Jey Uso faces Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41? I tell you, after watching SmackDown, even though I still think Cody Rhodes is going to face Randy Orton, maybe we'll get Randy Orton versus John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Because everybody thinks John Cena's facing Cody Rhodes. I tell you, that's very intriguing. Very intriguing to see Jey Uso versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. Take a step back for a second. Let that sink in a little bit. How would the crowd react to Jey Uso challenging Cody Rhodes. Would the crowd turn on Cody at all? Would they turn on Jey at all? Would this be like babyface versus babyface? Not Hogan versus Warrior, but that's more intriguing than I thought it would be. Because we immediately wrote off, oh, Jey Uso versus Gunther. That's what they're going to do. This is the Sami Zayn storyline again. Sami lost to Gunther. Sami having a losing streak. Sami, getting mocked from Gunther. Then you had the Rocky storyline. Remember Chad Gable helping Sami Zayn try to take out Gunther? And Sami Zayn beats Gunther at WrestleMania. Kind of feels like a recreation of Sami and Gunther. Now I'm thinking to myself, boy, if they threw us a curveball and gave us Jey Uso versus Cody Rhodes, that would be pretty fascinating to see how the crowd would react to Cody Rhodes in that situation. I don't know how you all feel about that, but I think that's kind of interesting. I do see Cody Rhodes main eventing night 1. I'm not convinced Cody Rhodes main events night 2. And so what? So what if he main events night 1? No, Jey Uso main events WrestleMania. Jey Uso's getting, doesn't mean he's having the last match on the night. He takes on Gunther. That will not close out WrestleMania. I don't think so. Could. If Jey Uso versus Gunther closes out night 1, Jey Uso's winning. Because you're not going to go off the air with Gunther having the championship belt. They would go off the air with everybody going yeet, yeet. But that's pretty interesting, Peter. The more I let it sink in, the more I think to myself, wow, that'd be pretty interesting to see how the crowd reacts going into WrestleMania if Jey Uso chooses Cody Rhodes. That'd be pretty interesting, man. All right. Let's take like 3 more questions and we'll jet. And then, like I said, we'll be back tomorrow for the DTKC show. I'll talk to Kev. I'm pretty sure he will be taking a night off, relaxing. Maybe he'll stop by in the chat, just say hi, but I'm going to try to convince him not to. Excuse me. I yawned last night at 2 o'clock in the morning when I was doing the update. It was right around this time too. So, by the way, if you enjoy the shows, really appreciate it if you smash thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber yet, subscribed, because that tells YouTube you like what we're doing here and it helps the channel grow. So if the channel grows, we'll work on growing more content as well. So if you could take a moment, I really appreciate it. Kevin Walker says Halle Berry's 58. She still looks hot. Mary Hart is 74. I have not seen her in quite some time. Angela Lansbury did die. I do remember that. And she was 59 through 62 doing Murder, She Wrote. Okay, she was older. She was a little bit older. Funny thing is, her hair wasn't totally gray at that time. She was kind of like, near that age, but the Chiefs are getting their ass kicked 37-6. 37-6. Yes, trust me, I think Kev probably will watch this. He might have even been watching this earlier, chilling a little bit. Again, I'm just a little bit disappointed at social media for his way. And you know what? Again, this has been 5 days now, and still 5 days of silence from people that I know he has always reached out to. And there's no excuse for that. Too many people to just say, I had no idea. That's just, like I said, for me, I could get it. I understand for me. I could rub people the wrong way. I don't frequent social media like I used to, so I don't expect everybody to stop for me. But, everybody knows what's going on with him. And to turn around and not even just say, hey, my thoughts are with you. It takes about 7 seconds to do. And the people that you would expect them to do it. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people have contacted him privately. But there's enough people out there who did not do it publicly. And now guess what? You'll do it. You'll make an excuse for it. But deep down inside, we know the truth. And that sucks, man. That really sucks. But Cedric Alexander gets released, and it's like, oh, my God, I'm crushed. My God, they totally misused you. I'm devastated. Yeah. Kevin's like, don't compare me to Cedric Alexander. That's not fair. That's not fair. You know what's funny? JM85 just wrote, last time KC was beaten like this was the Super Bowl versus Tampa. And I just realized that KC could also stand for Kevin Castle. So KC, he's getting his ass kicked tonight, is Kansas City Chiefs, not Kevin Castle. That's why sometimes when you say DT, like that could also be Donald Trump. And sometimes someone will write, hey, DT, this about DT. And like for a minute, I'm like, wait, are they talking about me or are they talking about Donald Trump? What do you guys all think about what's been going on the last couple of weeks with the ICE stuff? Pretty wild, right? I don't want to turn this into politics, but it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy, man. By the way, shout out to Austin Nance, celebrating 47 months as a channel member here, almost 4 years. Channel membership started pretty much when the channel started. He's been here every step of the day with me. Thank you for that. Theme parks and things with Johnny is not that far behind, celebrating 37 months as a channel member. He says one person he's heartbroken over is Blair Davenport, but he'll get over it because he really likes her. Listen, out of everybody on that list, and I said this yesterday, so I'm not saying it's because you wrote that, Isla Dawn surprises me the most. And yes, I was a big fan of her work, but they were over enough. And she's not a problem child. She doesn't cause trouble in the locker room. She works her ass off. She works the house shows when needed. The Unholy Union were over to an extent. Definitely much over than Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. And I'm not saying that they should have been released, but I'm just saying that surprised the shit out of me. But I also said, Blair Davenport, it's kind of surprising that WWE could not figure out how to use her. I mean, bring in NXT. If you really can't figure out how to use her on the main roster, bring in NXT. I saw people reporting this weekend that WWE was going to make her a security guard for Chelsea Green. And I'm like, I take a step back and I'm like, oh, that would have saved her fucking career. Like, what? Piper Niven, it's different because Piper is a monster. And Piper is unintentionally funny at times. So when Piper turns on Chelsea, it's going to matter because Piper is a monster and people will pop for Chelsea. Blair Davenport, how does that create like a character or get a connection with the fans? They tried turning Raquel Rodriguez into Diesel, and that was not working. Now you see she's kind of going back to her old look a little bit. That would have helped Blair Davenport. That's what you come up with? So I do feel bad for her. That's somebody that WWE could not figure out what to do with. And they should have done more, in my opinion. I don't like Alba Fire as a single star. I don't like it. I see her back in NXT in no time. And I don't know, man. I got news for you. I'm a little concerned about Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark is Triple H really, really loves her work. But at the end of the day, it's not just Triple H's decision. I think Zoe Stark, there's got to be a little bit of concern. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, Shayna Baszler, to me, is that Shayna Baszler reminds me of what Shelton Benjamin was for the WWE before he was let go. Like Shayna Baszler is that older WWE woman who people are still intimidated with, and if you defeat her, it feels like a substantial victory. So that's why I think they keep Shayna Baszler. But Zoe Stark, I'm being honest. Again, that's what we do here. We're allowed to express our concern about certain talents. If you notice, a lot of people on that list we've talked about leading up to this because we're honest. Trust me, you think people that we're friends with liked hearing us 2-3 months ago ripping the shit about AOP? It ain't working. It's stupid. I still don't even understand why they're aligned together. Final testament of what? You know, remember when I said, oh, let the New Day join up with Cross and call him the New Testament? You know, I think that would have been pretty interesting. I mean, we were trying to brainstorm, but we were like, I still don't understand why the AOP is with them. And the AOP, you looked at their matches, they would fall asleep outside the ring. Plus, they're so big, they should not be, you know, like I'll never forget when Montez Ford dove and landed on the AOP and just barely touched them, and they both stood outside unconscious for about 2 minutes. And I remember Kevin and I talking about it at that time, and we were like, they're done. They're done. They're done. Just sorry. It took a while, but they were done. They just never had that momentum. They're not intimidating. And this is probably part of the problem. You have a lot of big men in the WWE now. From Bronson Reed to, Braun Strowman to Otis. And there's a lot of names that, I'm leaving out right now. Some people even feel Jacob Fatu is a little bit of a beast, even though he's smaller. And then you look at AOP, and AOP getting pushed around like that, that doesn't say much for them. But Triple H definitely has relied a little bit too much on the top names. And what Triple H has done, and we'll start ending this, what I think Triple H has done, and I think a lot of people agree with me, is kind of like the problem that WWE had in the late 2000s, right around the time that we were talking about earlier. When the Attitude Era was around, the one thing that WWE did great with the Attitude Era was not only that everybody had a storyline, because almost everybody has a storyline now, but what they did so good was the fans gave a shit about every storyline. We were just talking about the Royal Rumble when Too Cool, did their spot in the Royal Rumble, and the crowd went nuts for it. One of the most over tag teams, and when you look back on it, they were a mid-card. But they just put everybody in a position where everybody mattered. But then as you got to the latter part of the 2000s, you started to see this big divide between everybody at the top and those who were around mid. And the distance between mid and the top was a big, big, big gap. And that's why Triple H was the center of everything. And you had Cena at the center of everything. And you had Randy Orton at the center of everything. You look back at those times, we would name probably 7 people, 8 people tops. And that would be the majority of who got the big time pushes at the time. And there was such a distance between, main event and maybe even upper mid card. They create a lot of damage. Even the women's division at times. The women's division, it felt like Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Asuka, Becky Lynch, they were typicals. Before Bianca showed up, like there would be like a couple that were all the way up here and everybody else was up here, or down here. And I think over the last 2 years, Triple H has created a bigger gap between main eventers and everybody else. Drew McIntyre, great job, main eventer. He did a lot of that himself. Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso now, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Randy Orton when he was on TV. Bronson Reed breaking through a little bit, but after that, everybody else is here. And now, like I said, the tag team division has suffered severely because of it. The tag team division, JD McDonough and Finn Balor had 2 title defenses during their entire time. Lyra Valkyria, if I am correct, hasn't even defended the fucking title yet. She's been champion for a month now? Is she defended the title? I don't think so. I can't think of anything. It seems like Chelsea Green is a little bit more active than her. It's not Lyra Valkyria's fault, but WWE has done a terrible job keeping people right below main event. That if you penciled them in for a main event, people would be fine with it. It just feels like there's been a certain group of people that they've relied on the last couple of years, and everybody else, it's like, okay, they're filler. They're filler. Look at the Wyatt Six. Do I need to say anything else? The Wyatt Six. Carlito. Member, WrestleVotes and a few others. Carlito is going to get a huge push in 2025. That was reported in December of 2024. WWE is planning a mega push for Carlito. Go Google it. Think I'm kidding. All right. Twix says Vince McMahon is at the Super Bowl. Is that true? Is that true? Oh, yeah. Triple H from 2000 to 2003 was awful. It was awful. We're at 1 hour and 51 minutes, so let's finish this right at the 2-hour mark. Make it an even 2 hours. Right now, the Wyatt Six are probably sleeping. Oh, no, they're probably watching the Super Bowl. Somebody asked where the Wyatt Six. No, I think a lot of them are at the Super Bowl. I think a lot of them. Nixie says Vince, Shane, and Undertaker are all at the Super Bowl. Are they together? That's what I wanted. I think Vince and Undertaker would be together. Is Shane with them, though? Right, they're all there, but are they together? That's what I want to know. Are they together? That's going to be interesting. How does Vince look? I'm going to Google a picture after we're done with the show. Yeah, listen, almost everybody is at the Super Bowl. Everybody's going to take the pictures of themselves. I heard Tony Khan showed up on his father's $350 million yacht. At least we found out now where Tony Khan lives. Because Tony Khan revealed that that's where he lives for the most part. He lives on a $350 million yacht. And we can't figure out why this guy cannot mingle with real life. That CM Punk yells at him and he thinks that he feared for his life. Again, this is somebody who is in a bubble, who is, spoiled by his father. I give Shad Khan credit. He loves his son. He loves his son. He loves his son to the point that it's almost like, you ever hear about a crazy old lady who's a millionaire and they die and they leave all their money to their dog? Have you ever heard of stories like that? I've heard stories like that, like a millionaire leaves all their money to their pet. And it's like, wow, you could have put that for charity. You could have done this, but they leave it all to their pet. To me, that's what Shad Khan is towards his son. It's like, okay, let me shower my son with billions and billions of dollars and make him feel like every day he's at Neverland. AEW is Neverland. And all of the wrestlers are the animals. And Tony Khan is Michael Jackson. Only difference is Tony Khan doesn't have children playing with him. Tony Khan is pretty much, by himself. We'll just say it like that. That's where it is. His father showers him with billions, and that's the bubble that he is in. So no wonder why so many people, thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Because if you are on the good graces with Tony, what's the big deal about writing too much of a check? You got billions. So what? I always brought it up with eBay. If I was comfortable right now financially, and I always wanted this signed AJ Lee card. I was a diehard AJ Lee fan. I always wanted a rookie card. I haven't seen it on eBay forever. And some whack job has it up there for $5,000. And I'm financially set. If I want this fucking card that bad, and so no one else has it and I have it, what stops me from paying the $5,000? Really? If it doesn't put a dent in what I have. But now I own what I wanted. That's to me what he is. Very simple. Yeah, so that's his Neverland. And that's why when people were saying to me about ratings and about Australia and about pay-per-views, I'm like, do we forget like who's running it? Doesn't matter. As long as the event is happening, that's all that matters. I'm surprised they haven't done like, I don't know, what rhymes with yacht? What rhymes with yacht? Backlot at the yacht. Like, I'm surprised we haven't had a wrestling event on the yacht as of yet. You got the Jericho cruise. They should do something with the yacht. I'm not kidding either. I think Tony Khan, I would not be surprised if there's like a little wrestling event on his yacht. I am a little jealous of Tony Khan. Let's be honest. We would love to have Tony Khan's. We would. Is it Tony Khan's fault, though, to be protected that much by his father? Like his father doesn't allow him in the real world? You know, like the closest he is in the real world is backstage in a building. Like, is it Tony Khan's fault? I think that's the question we should really ask ourselves. Maybe it's not his fault. Maybe Shad Khan is the one that's at fault. Even though you have the billions of dollars, maybe you should turn around like, my son needs to learn how to be a man. My son needs to know the real life, that when you fall down, you don't get, you know, I don't know, when you fall down, you don't get a Snoopy Band-Aid and a chocolate milk and coloring books and having a bunch of servants rub your knee with, you know, for 2 hours. No, sometimes you got to get up and put a little peroxide on it and suck it up, baby boy. So I think it might be more Shad Khan's fault for shielding his son as much as he is. And you see like the incident with CM Punk, you know, the guy feared for his life because he's been in a bubble his entire life. So, yeah, Wrestle Yacht. AEW presents Wrestle Yacht. I'm telling you, I got to find the perfect word. It's got to be like rot in the yacht. Something like that. Rot in the yacht. Yeah, Tony thinks he's one of the boys. He does. But listen, you know, you see some of the wrestlers that are there, and they know that if they stay on the good graces with Tony Khan, they got a job for the foreseeable future. I mean, if you notice, do you ever notice that other than Jay Cargill, like everybody else who ends up exiting AEW, it always seems like it ends on somewhat of a bad note. They just stop talking to me. I can't get anybody to call me back. It's like if you fall out of favor with AEW, that's how you exit. Like, who else has exited the company on, you know, decent terms? Or there's an NDA. You know, I'll give you a little extra money, you sign an NDA, you don't talk bad about me. Like, when you really examine, like, who has left AEW and gone on to better pastures, not too many people. All right, everybody. I'm going to jet. I am definitely going to look for that Candice Michelle video tonight. Definitely going to look for that. But I'll be at a fun time tonight. And can we get a final number right now with the Super Bowl? Can we get a number? Is the game over? It should be close to over. What's the score? What's the score? So we go off the air. Because we called the Eagles a couple of weeks ago. I said upper 30s, 40-14. Is that the final score? And I will say this. Congratulations to all of my friends out there. Whether we're close or we just became friends through social media, those, you know, in wrestling, outside of wrestling, people that I know personally, all of you that live in around Philly and are fans of the Philadelphia Eagles, congratulations. I mean, one thing I will say, which I think is nothing but complimentary. What I noticed from the Blue Meanies to everybody else, they support their team rabid. I mean, you support a team. I mean, we've brought up in the past with other players, but all these people that support their Eagles, man, they rabid fans of the Eagles, and they all were looking forward to this moment, and very, very cool. Somebody answer me one question before we jet? When was the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl? When was the last time they won the Super Bowl? Because I know they didn't win it in the 80s. I know 2018. Okay. So it's been about 7 years. All right. 2018. So yeah, I think it's about time. It's kind of funny when you look at baseball, how many years it's been since the Yankees won. It's like, wow, it's a lot longer. And for the Mets, fuck that, man. The Mets, 1986. 1986 was the last time. They should have won in 88. Would have been great if the Mets would have faced the A's in 88. We would have not had that Kirk Gibson moment, I'll tell you that much. But, the Mets this year, I'm really, really looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to some games for sure. So, all right. And Big G says that the last time the Eagles won, they beat Tom Brady and the Patriots. All right. That's even better because, I was never a fan of the Patriots, and Giants kicked their ass. Oh, that was amazing, man. Guys, be well. Catch you all in the next one. Talk to you soon.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.